Robbers robbed a store. They wore gas masks. Fairies were nearby. They tried to stop them, but they shot the fairies. As a result, they were cursed. Cursed beyond belief. Their eyes fell out. They had to catch them. Too late, though. In a matter of moments, they were dead in other ways. The rest of the robbers tried to get away with the cash. Freedom is a goal we all strive for, eating away at our heart, and exterminating the demons which exist in our minds. And transparent keepers and goblins and ghouls and ghosts that dream only of themselves in sexual and matrimonial ecstasy. But wait, the girl, Emerald, teased her father, and you, a murderer, will read this tale and know that her father was a murderer too. Yes, he did murder. Yes, he murdered his spouse. But he hid her in a cellar. That was a dark time in their family's history, but love is passing its secrets to many people. Practice favors when they are really needed, was what her father would say to her often, as he spoke softly into her ears. As she slept with eyes closed, and deep breaths came as she slept. Dreams are a mystery to murderers. They play their games as time passes, and wonderful messages erupt on their phones and in their minds as a gatekeeper prevents them from calling their lovers. But Emerald, really, who needs her? She had no love to confess. She was not that sort of girl. Don't burn away my madness. Don't dream away my silence. Madness where criminals inhabit their habits are cold and bleak, and my thumbs are numb from writing about them. But creatures in the sea, and creatures in space, and creatures that live on very high mountains all converge in the city to take down its inhabitants. But Miss Acid, mistress of burning liquid, fights them all, and they fall. Yes, they fall, one after another, ugly though they were, powerful though they were, and dreams give way to nightmares, and followers give way to worshippers of devilish devices which twist our fingers, and madness converges on the minds and bodies of wicked persons responsible for plotting the destruction of an innocent city and the burning of an innocent symbol. Yes, madness has entered temperance. Yes, we know that madness did enter temperance. Your solitude was invaded. Did candy bother you? Candy is good for you. Crunch it in your mouth, and all the saliva will mix with it, and, well, that's another thought. But boy, eggs are well served with ramen, and oh, why can't... Never mind. Acid Girl was in her final years of living, but then she wasn't. Why? Well, because the Tiger Man brought her back, though he wasn't a man at all. What was he anyway? Creatures die and creatures live. Live thoughtfully then, said the tiger being. Powerful monsters attacked the city again. A giant octopus and a giant lazy sloth falling with a parachute and landing on top of the octopus and metamorphosing with it to create a slothopus who fired powerful laser beams from its eyes and burned several streets and buildings. And Acid Girl failed to stop it from happening. And the inhabitants of the city were very unhappy to see half of their city melt away. But really the times had changed, you see. Things were not what they used to be, and time matches its winners to its lovers and startles those in between. But frequencies and radio signals manipulate and manifest themselves as gophers which tunnel themselves into the power network and burn down abandoned buildings. And we all wonder how this manic planning will burn out the time in progress towards the action of elemental radio stations and progress of actual time bombs that go off and threaten to destroy the residents once more and blow away futile learners that learn and don't play games with those who remember to toy with playground cares. And under that premise, we presume to make a lot of laughter out of xylophones and out of transmogrification, of underestimated willpower, and tortures the reader so. Dream about splurging in fortune. Fairy tales are weathered that way. They slip away from us, and who knows where they went, breeding in us a foul conscience towards murders and clandestine intent, tormenting me violently in my many woes, but silent is the voice of reason as complexities unfold themselves in our bitter haste. We tell of it. We tell of the dragon who breathes his fire. It scorches the floor and cleans it of impurities. But my life was fairly impure, and it impure to it, and so I burn. I burn for loving. When will I learn to hate? When will I learn to kill that vile emotion and perfectly hate? Emerald studied her homework, but she was brought to tears. She was different now, and her father, my father, is in jail. Megan comforted her. Then she died, violently. She vomited blood, and it spilled in front of her, from her mouth, from her eyes, and she fell to the table. To Emerald's horror, yes, Megan had died. But how? How had Megan died? Was it that she was drinking? Emerald screamed. She looked at the glass that Megan had been drinking from. Why didn't anyone notice that Megan was dead? Why didn't they notice? Then it was all gone, and Emerald was alone at her table. There was no blood, and there was no cup. My God, said Emerald, and she got up and walked out of the cafeteria. What strange things that had happened to her today. It's your mind. It's broken, said Kenneth. He had been standing and watching. Emerald began to hate Kenneth. She grabbed a fork and pointed it at him with murderous intent. What the hell do you want? Wow. Just buzz off. And so Kenneth left, with a smile on his face. He felt he had harmed Emerald sufficiently. She boiled inside. She writhed. She fumed. This will be the first of many hallucinations, said the tiger with the burning eyes. Our nightmares are our judges. She returned to her home and dropped her bag, and an echo resonated around the rather large entryway. Now this place was all her own, save for the servants that busied themselves to clean it. Hypnosis, Emerald exclaimed. He must have hypnotized me. No, the Tiger Man said that the visions were from him. Then it wasn't Kenneth. She collapsed onto her knees. She felt very tired. My mother, she would have visions too, before she died, before Father killed her. But I still like Father. Smash! The windows in the large house smashed open, and men in gas masks jumped inside. Also a man in a suit with slick orange hair jumped through the window into the room. Madness having to come all this way, and he brushed the glass from his sleeves. I have appointments with important people. Ah, Emerald, my dear child, you're coming with us. There was a sticky, boiling sensation on Emerald's hands. Yes, Emerald, your new home will be with us. Do I look like I'm 4? There's no way in hell I'm going with you. We have to abduct you, he said with a sigh. You have papers that have to be signed. I won't sign them, and I won't go with you. He snapped his fingers, and the masked men approached her. They tried to grab her, but their hands were burned, as their gloves were burned through as well. They shouted in pain and backed away. Emerald, with a panicked look on her face, turned and ran deeper into the mansion. After her, shouted the orange-haired man. She survives the chemical vat, and now this? What is she? She ran, and things were a blur around her. Decorations and lavish furnishing blurred by her as she ran. Portraits of deceased members of the family blurred by as well. She stopped a moment to look at her mother. She had her same curly hair, and their eyes matched also, but Emerald's face was her father's. Then she ran again. She was headed for the back exit. She entered the garage and got on a black motorcycle. She turned the key used to start it, and it roared to life. She pressed a button on the side of it, and the garage door opened. Then she drove off and did not look back. Her father's empire had fallen, and so would she if she did not take her leave. Outside the city were snowy mountains. She drove to them. She parked near an old withered tree. No one bothered to check her license, though she did have one. The air was cold and dry. A gentle snow fell. Where is the real Megan, then? She said to herself. Dead, said a familiar voice. She turned to face Kenneth. What was he doing here? What are you doing here? Stalking you. You're mad. You are beautiful, too beautiful. It makes me angry. What of it? Don't worry, I lied. Megan is safe at home. Want to go out with me? No thanks. What are you running from, Emerald? First tell me how you knew I was here. All right, if you're going to date me, then you should at least know that much. From his pocket he withdrew his sapphire stone, and from it was projected an image of the city of Temperance. He waved his hand over it, and there they were, the two of them standing on a snowy mountain near an old withered tree with a black motorcycle. You're a warlock! And Emerald backed away. No, not exactly. More like a shaman. Now answer my question. What are you running from? Shouldn't you already know that, shaman? Yes, but I want to see your response as you tell me. Then I can prescribe your cure. My cure? You have an illness, Emerald. You ignore reality. I'm going to cure you of that illness. I'm not ill. I'm bored. Just tell me already. I'm running from dusk. But you have powers now. Why would you run from anyone? You could take over the entire city if you wanted. Powers. I don't have powers. The bubbling. Is that what you're talking about? He smiled. Is it? Emerald shouted. Turn around 3 times, and each time you face me, say awaken. That will answer your question. Ridiculous. Goodbye, Emerald. Fine. Wait. As she did as he asked. Oh, and she did as he asked. She did as Kenneth asked, and balls of acid formed in the air around her and revolved around her like planets revolve around a star.